Hey guys, so some of you might remember, if you've been watching our videos for a long time, this bathroom is pretty much the same way as it was when we moved into the house 13 years ago. And it's a fairly standard, typical Japanese bathroom. So hand basin there, washing machine, and then into the wet room. So this room gets fully wet for reasons that will become obvious shortly. So one of the other things you might notice, the window's open. So it's still really cold outside, but because this room gets fully wet, it's really important to make sure that every day we open that window. I remember when I first came to Japan and experienced a bathroom in the middle of winter with a window open, I couldn't believe it. It was actually in a ryokan, and that was their standard thing. After people had all had their baths in the evening, they'd open the window and they'd stay open till the next night. So really important, otherwise you get moldy in there really quickly. So the whole room's designed to be wet. And then I might just put you guys down for the next part. Just 1 second. Right, so I'll show you this. I'll show you this first so I can sit on it. Right. Just about every Japanese bathroom has one of these. They used to be made of wood. Now they make them out of plastic. They're just a cheap sort of thing that everybody seems to have. So I'm going to sit on that. And then, what next? Okay, so the bucket of mystery. So in the old days, and we have actually showed you really old bathrooms before. Quite an echo, isn't it? And in the old days, they just had sort of a circular wooden, like a big wine vat, big tub. So I've seen wooden ones, I've seen like copper ones, and were not real big either, just like a cylinder that they'd sit in up to here. But they like to keep the water clean. So this is traditional, this is what they've always done, but this is what they still do now. They don't want soap in the bath. So in the old days, what they'd do is they'd heat up the water. They used to have a fire underneath that would heat up the water, and the water would get hot, so it'd be clean and hot water. And then what they'd do is they'd sit on their little seat thing next to the bath. They'd scoop up some clean water, pour it over their heads, and then wash themselves with soap. And then when they were clean, they'd scoop up the water again and use that to wash them off. So what they're doing is they're keeping that water clean, and they still do this too. It's really important if you stay in someone's home here or stay in a ryokan or someplace, don't be jumping in the bath covered in soap because it'll freak them out. So they scoop up the water like this and they use it to wash the soap off. However, the modern variation is that we have the shower head, which usually they have two settings. So one place where we can put the shower head down here for the people who are sitting down here on the seat, and another one up there for the strange people who like to stand up and have a shower. So basically, strange people can just have a normal shower. So if you stay in someone's house like this, or ryokan or something, and it has a shower fitting up on the wall like that, you can just have a normal shower. You can come in and do what you normally do in a shower. Just try not to get soap in the bath, that's all. But that's the way you can do it, you know. And so that sort of makes this sort of superfluous, you know. And I actually find this thing really annoying because what they do, they all seem to do it. They put this little bucket thing, which is always the same design and the same style, upside down on this seat when it's not in use, right? And every time I come in the shower, the water from the shower knocks it off and it falls on the floor, and then I pick it up and I stick it over here, right? And when other people are in the shower, I hear the same thing happening, right? And I've heard it here, I've heard it at the in-laws' place, and you hear this thing, right? You hear that happening while they're having their shower, you know? And so this thing's what's triggered this video, because years ago I made a how-to video about how to do the bath thing in Japan, but this thing triggered the video because I came in here and clatter, and there it goes again, and actually asked asked a few family members, do you use the bucket, right? And my wife said occasionally she does, and I said, why, right? And I don't know. And so what this setup here is that there's this switches between the shower head and this thing that fills the bath, right? And she actually uses that to fill this, right? And then pours it on her head. I said, why do you use? Oh, sometimes she uses the shower head, she said. So, and I asked the kids too if they use it, and they said usually no. Usually no. They come in here and sit in here and do this thing, or they put it up high and do a shower, just do a normal shower. So. It's a pretty funny thing, this buckety thing. It's just a habit, you know. Interestingly, we went to a village long time ago. We showed you guys a village where they make all traditional crafts, and they're making, you know, umbrellas out of paper, and there was a guy there making knives on a forge, and there was one guy there making wooden buckets, the old bathroom buckets, out of wood. And just they have to cut the wood really perfectly all the way around and then put it all together like they make a wooden keg, and then put the ring around the outside. And he was making those, and those were the earlier versions of these. So in the old days they had a wooden bucket or a big ladle on a stick that they did this with, and the seat, this seat was obviously a little wooden seat as well. So that's about it. That's about it. There's nothing else that's terribly unusual. It's all just squeezed bottles of soap and shampoo and so on. There's nothing else terribly unusual. So the idea is that you sit here, you get wet, then you soap down and shampoo and stuff, and then you rinse that all off. And then when you're clean, then you get in the bath. And because of that system too, and partly probably because collecting water for a bath probably in the old days would have been really hard work, quite normal now, still now, for families to all share the same bath water, because of that system. The idea is that their bodies are clean, and they'll have a system, and you'll sometimes hear it. You know, if we're visiting, you know, the cousins or somewhere, and we're at their house and it's bath time, you know, and they're all having their baths, they'll have their order, who goes first and who goes last. You know, quite often the little kid will go first, and then the bigger kid, and then the mother, and then the father's last. So not always. Not always. That's depending on the weather, what happens here. You know, sometimes, and how much time we've got. If it's the weekend and you know, they're all feeling like a soak, you'll hear, I don't do it, I'm not into soaking in the bath, but you'll hear the girls talking about it, you know, do you want a bath? And we fill the bath, and they fill the bath up. And to keep it warm, the wife's actually got this silver cover she puts over the top, so when one person finishes the bath, they hop out and they put that cover over the top to help keep it warm. Some of them actually have a heater. This one used to have a big, bulky, ugly thing here that heated the water, that kept the water warm, because they're really into staying there, the same as the onsen, right? They're into staying in there a long time. And so they have these heaters that keep the water warm, and I actually removed it because it took up too much space in here. It was just too much faffing and too big. So I removed it, but some of them do that to keep the water warm. In the old days, the old style bath had a wooden lid that they lift the wooden lid off and get in, and that helped keep it warm. So that's pretty much it. But they're right into the soak if they've got time. I mean, these days people are busy, of course, so they don't always have time. So, but quite often, if they've got time, they'll be in here for a long time just soaking in the bath and sharing baths. Those of you who've seen a bit of Japanese anime, you know, it's really normal here for families to share baths. I mean, it's an extension of the onsen thing, right? And the sento, where all the local people go to the local baths at night. They're classics. We've been to a few sento, and they're similar to an onsen. It's just like it's like a local bathhouse, and they're classic. You know, you go to one of those and sit outside one of those before you go in, and there's just a constant stream, usually older people, coming in there like they're heading to the bath in their house, basically. Some of them will be wearing like dressing gowns and carrying their clothes and their shampoo and their soap, and they go in, and all the guys go in one side, all the ladies go on the other, and they all sit there and do exactly what I've just described. They do the same thing. They have the little shower heads there, and in the old days, of course, they would have scooped it out of buckets, but now they have the shower heads, but they still have these things, and they still have the little seats, and they'll all be sitting there soaping up and rinsing themselves off, and they make themselves clean, and then they'll go all soak in the bath. That Soseki book I recommended to you guys a while ago, I'm a Cat, as yet I have no name. And in that, the cat follows him to the centaur, and it's where the guy goes to discuss sort of affairs, important business affairs with other guys. They all sit around in the bath. I've been invited. I had a dentist here once asked me to go to the onsen with him, you know, and talk to me about some things. Let's nude up and go and have a chat. That's what they do. And then oddly, I've got to mention this one. Quite often they have a little towel. We don't have one in this room, but quite often they have these little towels. I don't know what, cotton, I guess, but like, you know, smaller than that often, and they put it on their head. So I mean, if you're totally naked, right, in a room full of naked dudes, or if you're a lady in a room full of naked ladies, right? I don't know if the ladies do it too. Actually, I guess they do. The dudes, the old dudes. They'll put the little towel on their head like this and lie back in the bath or lie back in the onsen. You know? It's like, really? Like, you know, everything you think that needs to be covered up, the top of your head is really the thing that needs to be covered, is it? So anyway, that's it. I don't think I've left anything out. That's pretty much the deal. So yeah, got to do the open window thing. A lot of these things, when you first come to Japan, you see them doing these things. I remember staying in that. It was actually in Shirakawa-go, which is up where those famous. You guys would have seen them. The famous thatched roof old buildings up in the mountains. And I went there with some people, and we stayed in this really old thatched roof. What's it called? What do I call it? A ryokan. And I went there in the morning, went to the bathroom in the morning, and the doors, I opened the door, and the window was wide open like this, and there was mountains of snow outside. It was winter, right? And it was just open, there's icicles hanging down, and it's full on, but it's just, they've got to do it. If you don't do it, it's like hanging your futon out in the sun when it's sunny. If you don't do it, it gets moldy in here really quickly. So you got to do it. You got to open it up. Today it's about 6 degrees out there, so it's pretty cold. But you got to do it, because if you don't do it, it starts to get mouldy in here. So it's sort of held up okay. Some of you might have seen that some tiles were coming off a while ago, and I actually fixed the tiles. It's sort of pretty rustic, you know, but it's clean and it's okay. So everyone's pretty happy with it. This is the standard. This is pretty much the standard. Our in-laws' houses have pretty much the same setup. You know, most houses, new houses, sort of different variations, but usually the same sort of thing. And the hotels too, even the hotels. I mean, the Western style hotels, you know, quite often will just have a shower over bath type setup. But the whole room gets wet thing is fairly standard here. So of course you've got to close this sliding door here, because once you fire up the water in here, everything gets wet, and the condensation on the ceiling and stuff, so it drips down. There's tiles on the roof up there, up on the ceiling. So the water drips down. So anyway, I think I covered it all. It actually went on longer than I thought. That's what triggered it. It's funny what triggered these videos, you know. This thing, it kept falling over, and then I had my bath and went outside and I heard it fall over in here again. It's like, this bloody thing, you know. Apparently it's important. So it's got to be in here. So after I turn the camera off, I'll put this back where it's supposed to be and put this back on top of it so it can fall off again any minute. Anyway, that's enough of that. Hopefully someone found that mildly entertaining. More videos coming soon.